네, 안녕하세요. 지금부터 제4회 국제문화학술발표대회를 시작하겠습니다. 저는 사단법인 한국국제문화우호협회 한승훈 팀장입니다. 반갑습니다. 네, 주말임에도 불구하고 이렇게 시간을 내셔서 와주신 많은 모든 분들께 진심으로 감사의 말씀을 드립니다. 또한 본 대회 참가자 여러분들의 많은 관심과 열정에도 대단히 감사드립니다. 우선 이번 학술대회를 주관한 사단법인 한국국제문화우호협회 이수연 이사장님의 축사가 있겠습니다. 축사는 영상으로 보시겠습니다.
안녕하십니까. 사단법인 한국국제문화우호협회 이사장 이수연입니다. 글로벌 인재 양성을 통한 국제교류 활성화를 목적으로 시작된 국제문화학술발표대회가 이번에 네 번째 마당을 펼치게 되었습니다. 특히 올해는 예년에 비해 더 수준 높고 다양한 내용으로 진행하게 되어 기대가 더 큽니다. 1994년 중국에 첫 발을 내디디며 국제교류 일을 시작한 제가 지난 30여 년간 전 세계 다양한 국가들과 많은 국제교류 프로그램을 진행하면서 느꼈던 가장 중요한 것은 바로 글로벌 소통 능력과 인문학적 소양이었기에 오늘 진행되는 국제문화학술발표대회는 그 의미가 더욱 크다고 할 수 있겠습니다. 여러분, 길을 아는 것과 그 길을 걸어가는 것은 다르다고 했습니다. 여러분들이 발표를 위해 준비한 모든 것은 단지 여러분들이 아는 것에 끝나는 것이 아니라 앞으로 여러분들이 가고자 하는 바로 그 길을 걸어가는데 큰 동력이자 소중한 자산이 될 것이라 믿습니다. 이번 대회를 위해 감시에 심혈을 기울여 주신 이경란 박사님과 대회 진행을 위해 많은 신경을 써주신 관계자분들께 감사드립니다. 끝으로 오늘 이 자리를 빛내주시기 위해 소중한 시간을 내서 함께해 주신 모든 분들께 진심으로 감사드립니다. 매 발표자들의 발표가 끝날 때마다 힘찬 응원과 격려의 박수 부탁드립니다. 고맙습니다.
네, 감사합니다. 네, 이어서 전 학교법인 대원학원 이영구 이사장님의 축사가 있겠습니다. 역시 영상으로 보여드리겠습니다.
안녕하세요 여러분, 반갑습니다. 학교법인 대원학원 전 이사장 이영구입니다. 글로벌 인재 양성 및 교류장으로 자리 잡고 있는 국제문화학술발표대회가 이번에 제4회 대회를 열게 된 것을 축하합니다. 국가와 지역 간 교류가 점점 다양화되어 가고 있는 국제화 시대에 소통 능력과 인문학적인 소양은 더욱 중요한 경쟁력입니다. 이러한 의도에서 다양한 주제를 가지고 서로 소통하고 교류하는 이 자리의 의미가 더욱 크다고 할 수 있습니다. 이번 발표를 위해 그동안 많은 준비와 노력을 하신 모든 참가자분들과 대회 관계자 여러분들께 응원과 박수를 보내드립니다. 다시 한번 축하드리며 멋진 대회가 되기를 바랍니다. 축하합니다.
잘 들었습니다. 감사합니다. 다음으로는 열방아카데미 이경만 교장 선생님의 내빈 소개가 있겠습니다. 박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다.
감사합니다. 이렇게 이러한 장을 허락해 주신 우리 협회에 먼저 감사를 드리고 또 여태까지 수고했던 많은 학생들에게 찬사를 먼저 보냅니다. 이 대회를 위해서 이렇게 직접 이 자리에 와서 격려해 주시는 우리 내외빈을 소개를 좀 하겠습니다. 먼저 축하하기 위해서 오신 우리 박사님들이 계십니다. 우리 정정려 교수님 오셨습니다. 백이숙 교수님도 함께했습니다. 그 옆에 있는 분은 저의 아내이고 우리 저를 도와주시는 분입니다. 우리 김선영 박사님 오셨습니다. 기자님들이 여러 분 오셨는데요. 먼저 이따가 총평해 주실 우리 박시수 기자님 어디 계시나요? 여기 오셨. 네, 박시수 기자님. 그다음 우리 홍진기 기자님 오셨습니다. 조성엽 기자님 오셨습니다. 심사위원으로 우리 우동화 박사님 오셨습니다. 최보기 교장쌤 오셨습니다. 우리 김영윤 부장님 오셨습니다. 함께 아침부터 오셔서 준비해 주시고 계십니다. 사실 모든 분들이 다 이렇게 참가 학생들을 돕기 위해서 오셨습니다. 다 모두에게 다 감사를 드립니다. 사실 이따가 전체적인 관전평을 할 때 좀 더 이 감사함을 전하도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
네, 이경만 교장선생님 말씀 잘 들었습니다. 그럼 발표에 앞서 오늘 대회 진행을 맡은 대원외고 정면은 이자정 학생에게 마이크를 넘기도록 하겠습니다. 박수 부탁드립니다.
Hi, we are students of 제1 Foreign Language High School, 정면은 and 이자정. We are in charge of hosting today. Nice to meet you. From now, let's start the presentation. This contest is divided in 2 parts and 14 members will present in 12 times.
First presenters of the first part is Oh Se-jun and Choi Ju-an, students of All Nations Academy. Please welcome them with a round of applause.
Hello everyone, my name is Oh Se-jun.
And my name is Choi Ju-an in All Nations Academy.
Content 1. Introduction. In our society these days, cafe culture develops and beverage consumption increases. People frequently pour our leftover drinks indiscriminately, which in turn end up in our natural environment. Number 1. Hypothesis. We believe that the thicker the concentration of coffee, the more negatively it will affect the growth of plants. Number 2. Method. This experiment is to investigate whether different liquids, water, coffee 1, coffee 2, and carbonated water affect the growth of plants, red pepper. Number 3, variable, independent variable, liquid, dependent variable, plants grow, control variables, like this.
2. Theoretical background. Number 1. Previous research. A. The effects of different liquids on plant growth. Plants can emerge from the sun and go through a process called photosynthesis. This process is essential for the survival of all living things. B. The effect of pH from different liquids on plant growth. The pH of liquids can affect plant growth. Water is generally considered neutral with a pH of 7.0. C. How the different liquids affect plant growth. Number 2. Soil. In the papers that study the effects of the content of important chemical components, this study investigated how various beverages affect the growth of peppers. Number 1. The effects of soil pH on plant growth. Number 2. Effects of soil nutrient availability on plant growth. Number 3. The role of soil microorganisms in plant growth.
Number 3, A. About pH. pH is an indicator of the acidity or alkalinity of a substance. B. pH value. pH is a value indicating the degree of acidity or alkalinity of the water and is an index of hydrogen ion concentration. C. Effect of pH on plants. When quantity of its growth is strong, the pH around the root increases, and vice versa. Number 4. Effect of coffee on plants. The impact of coffee on plants growth and developmental review is a paper that combines past studies and reviews. The effect of coffee on plants growth.
Number 5. Ingredients of soda. Most soda is made up of water. The paper's relation to the effects of soda on plants is as follows. Number 1. According to a study, Coke is a carbonated drink and has a very low pH value. However, this is a very dependent variable. Number 2. Effects of soft drink consumption on nutrition and health. Number 3. The paper, The Effects of Carbonated Water on Plant Growth and Nutrient Uptake in Tomato Seedlings, showed that tomatoes grew better with carbonated drinks. Number 6. The study on the effects of various liquids on plant peppers. In this paper, the effects of various liquids were studied on plant peppers. As a result, most liquids, including water, had a positive effect on the growth and yield of peppers.
3. Body. Number 1. Select the characteristics these studies that no studies on soil have been reported so far on pepper cultivation as various soft drinks. Number 2. Measurement. Each drink is provided once or twice a week. 3. Laboratory setting. 2. Giving various liquid containing water to the plants once or twice a week. 2. Observation. Taking picture, measurement of weight, measurement of length, measurement of soil pH. Soil pH measurement. Soil pH measurement 5 centimeter. Soil pH measurement 10 centimeter. Weight measurement. Leaf length. Length measurement.
For conclusion, 5 weeks after starting the experiment, the results are as follows. Number 1. Based on the height of the plant, mixed coffee and water at a ratio of 1:5 grew the longest and strongest. Number 2. Looking at the change in leaf length, coffee and water at a ratio of 1:1 shows the greatest growth. Number 3. Only plants that supply cider dried up after 4 weeks with dehydration. The reason can be estimated as follows. A. The first reason is the osmotic pressure occurs due to an increase in soil concentration in the cider. B. The second reason is presumed to be the pH change in the soil.
In the initial hypothesis that the plants in the pot that supplied soda would not grow well, but it was wrong that the plants that gave the coffee would die. In addition, if soda is given too often, acidification of the soil can negatively affect the growth of plants. Thank you for listening to our speech.
Thank you. Next, there is a presentation of Yu In-sung, Yangchun High School student. This presentation will be shown in the video.
Hello everyone, my name is Yu In-sung. Currently, I attend Yangchun High School. I'm honored to share on the topic about the origin and characteristic of the panopticon architecture. Here are the contents. A building reflects the power structure produced by the society it belongs to. Specific buildings called panopticon are special devices and tools that enable the powers practiced in the society to be created and maintained. Theoretical background. Misevko analyzed various social systems that maintain and operate in modern society. The panopticon is a prison proposed by Jeremy Bentham, a utilitarian philosopher in the late 18th century. The panopticon is a circular building with a courtyard in the center and cells arranged in a row along the circumference. A watchtower is installed in the center of the courtyard. The main concept raised in the panopticon is the fact that the hierarchy of power is revealed by the imbalance of visibility between the observer and the watched. Previous studies and contents on architectural styles similar to the panopticon are as follows. The thesis on architecture, surveillance, and control are as follows. Body. Since the 18th century, architecture has become a means for the government to effectively control the city and its territory. As the sociologist Haley insisted, all social acts are practice of power, all social relations are equation of power, and all social groups or systems are structures of power. In the society of the spectacle, everyone looks up the person in power. However, it has shifted to the society of surveillance, where one person watches everyone. It is a surveillance society. the principle of surveillance transformed into panopticism, which is the basic principle of a disciplinary society. The 17th and 18th centuries were the times when industrialization and capitalism were developing. Because of mechanization caused by industrialization at the time, many tenant farmers became laborers, but they ended up with losing their jobs. The streets were overflowing with the unemployed and the homeless. The state wanted to increase the maximum utility value, so large-scale buildings suitable for utilitarianism were required. The schema of power shown by the panopticon can be applied in the same way to institutional devices like schools, factories, prisons, and hospitals. The hospital designed by poet shows the concept of a panopticon. The development of media, where the majority monitors the powerful few, has been termed the synopticon. Unlike the panopticon, the synopticon is a mechanism in which the powerful and public simultaneously see each other. Here is my conclusion. Buildings in the past were a means for the powerful to show off their power. However, in the panopticon, a person with power uses power by monopolizing the gaze and not showing himself. The panopticon is an exhibition hall of power where surveillance and control work efficiently based on the rationality. Thank you for listening to my presentation.
Thank you so much. The fever is heating up. Next, the third presenter is Kica, graduated from All Nations Academy. Also now, she's in Myeongdok Foreign Language High School. Please give her round applause.
Hello everyone, I'm Myeongdok Foreign Language High School student Kica. All literary works reflect the era. Our work is essentially bound by the written background of the era. The familiar works we read in our childhood are no exception, are they? Lyman Frank Baum, the author of The Wizard of Oz, also seems to have completed this work under the influence of the background of the time. 1. Introduction. At the end of the 19th century, United States adopted the gold standard as its monetary system. However, as the price of goods continues to rise, it stifled economic growth and caused deflation. We will learn about the economic situations in the United States at the time and explore what they meant through the characters in the work. 2. Theoretical background. Number 1. The author of the book. As I mentioned before, the author of the book is the American author Lyman Frank Baum. He became a best-selling author when his book, The Wizard of Oz, published in his mid-40s in 1900, became a huge hit. Number 2, the gold standard system. Gold standard is the monetary system in which gold is central to the world currency. Gold has been considered the most essential means of money throughout history. Gold was easy to carry, so it was good to pay for the goods and it was valuable. However, as the price of gold continues to rise, it stifled economic growth and caused deflation. Number 3, the silver standard system. People adopted the silver standard to solve the economic crisis caused by the gold standard. Number 4, history of money. Now, I'm going to briefly talk about history of money. Let's look at this picture and table. A currency that began as a medium of exchange. Early money, people were used to exchange goods. In the 7th century, people created coins that were more like today's money. B, paper, bills, and notes based on credit. In the 10th century, bills were used in the Islamic world, and in the 11th century, the first banknotes in the Song dynasty, jars were issued. C, evolving into a value currency beyond the gold standard. In the 19th century, the British implemented the gold standard, and in the 20th century, after the Great Depression, countries parted ways with the gold standard. Number 6, prior research. Before moving on, let's take a look at a prior research, The Economics of Oz. What Would a Wise Wizard Do? By Robert Webers. From an economic perspective, the thesis The Wizard of Oz examines its monetary policy and impact. 3. Body. Number 1. The economic perspective in the Wizard of Oz. There are various elements, but I'll explain few of them. In the beginning of the story, Dorothy was blown away by a sudden whirlwind and landed on the strange land, indicating that Americans are in an economic crisis. Afterwards, Dorothy followed the yellow brick road to the Emerald City. It's a satire of what Americans at the time believed that the gold standard was a hope to revive the U.S. At the end of the story, it tells us that you can go home by tapping the silver shoes 3 times. Eventually, the story ends with Americans having the power to save the Americans' economy. Number 2, the figures or situations of the time mean. A cowardly lion in need of courage symbolized William Bryan, who was a Democratic presidential candidate. A tin-old man wanting a heart symbolized city workers. Scarecrows symbolized farmer. Dorothy symbolized American citizen. The evil witch of West symbolized a people that supported only the gold standard. Silver shoes symbolize silver standard. Number 3, the meaning of the theme song, Over the Rainbow. The song Over the Rainbow contains the desire to go to an ideal land where dreams come true and there are no worries. Number 4, find the New York Times article, The Economics of Fairy Tales. Perhaps the most famous examples of economics and enchantment is The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz is associated with green money and ounce of gold. Number 5, what will be the future currency? A. Digital currency. Digital currency exists in an intangible digital form, unlike bills and coins used in the real world. B. Blockchain technology for the money in the future. Blockchain technology provides high security and transparency. Not only cryptocurrency, but also various forms of digital currency can be implemented by the blockchain technology. 4. Conclusion. Overall, we can conclude that the Wizard of Oz reflects the economic situations of the time and the hope of overcoming it. The Wizard of Oz also reflects the critical elements of suffering and oppressions of the working class, along with the importance of wealth and power. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation.
Thank you for your presentation. Next, the first presenter is Kim Jae-young, a student of Yangcheon High School. He's from Jeonju for today, so let's give him a big hand.
Hello, I'm Kim Jae-young. Content is like this. 1. Introduction. The Merchant of Venice, author Shakespeare, British playwright, published 1600. It was classified as a comedy, but also had a tragic side. Theoretical background. 1. The Age of Discovery. England of the 16th century was an upheaval. The rediscovery of America had a ripple effect. 2. The two cities, Venice and Belmont. Venice was based on material wealth, and Belmont was founded on the property of love. 3. Semitism versus anti-Semitism. Semitism. Sherlock was a stranger who didn't belong anywhere, was treated inhumanly, and Sherlock himself was blocking contact with Christians. Anti-Semitism. Christians looked down on him for Jews impersonally. The word Jew was used 58 times in total, and there were 17 words related to Jews. 4. Venice's law. Venice's law was for Christians, and there were 2 kinds of death for a stranger. One was a direct death, and the other was an indirect death. 5. Feminism. At that time, the space of a court had been restricted and regulated on a woman. Portia was an oppressed minority in a male-dominated society, but Portia overwhelmed men's abilities in this space of a court. 3. Body. Main 4 characters. Number 1, Bassanio. The process of choosing the fox shown by Bassanio contained the meaning of serious love. The meaning of text was defined the right love and the right choice. Number 2, Antonio. Antonio valued relationships more than money. and Antonio had a choice that had no direct benefit. Number 3, Shylock. Shylock was a loan shark who valued money more than relationships, but Shylock chose a pound of flesh over the value of money. Shylock was anti-Semitism in the text. Number 4, Portia. Portia expressed active self-will, not passive. Portia calmed down Venice's society where a sense of conflict and crisis had risen. Analysis of the characters. 1. Shylock's personality. Shylock was a miser, accused of being an exclusive Jew. Shylock showed a cold-blooded person who valued money over people in human relations. Number 2, Shylock's position as a loan shark. Shylock expressed the legitimacy of his business. Shylock was feeling defeated, even though he also lived among the society. Number 3, Shylock's defense. Shylock's choice was arbitrary but semi-forced and could be seen as an individual revenge in a small way. Number 4, why Shylock revenged Antonio. There are 3 reasons why Shylock hated Antonio. First, religious reason. Second, business reason. And last, racial reason. Portia. Number 1, Portia's personality. The reason for Portia's depression was her father's will. Active and wise is that Portia was not a passive woman waiting her father's will to come true. Anguish is that Portia removed all worries with Bassanio's right choice. Number 2, Portia's faithful choice. In the work, Portia was chosen as a wise woman. Portia didn't have her own choice, and Portia complained about not having an autonomous option. Number 3, Portia's wisdom. Portia heard the news of Antonio's bankruptcy. When Portia saw Bassanio's complexion changing, Portia calmed Bassanio by saying what he thought. Number 4, Portia's conclusive statement. Portia helped Antonio by offering Shylock unreasonable conditions. The legal text presented by Portia proved that he was bound to lose the trial. The social meaning of disguise. Portia's disguise was to change his social identity and had positive consequences for society and freed women from social constraints and restraint. The development of the court. Portia entered the public court under the name of spelling, and Portia told Shylock Jews must show mercy. Portia complained about the meaning of mercy. 4. Conclusion. This paper analyzed things to explore the social and religious phenomena. The characters in the work were analyzed based on the background of the time. We are able to recognize the appearance and wisdom of Jews and women, that is, minorities. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. And next presenter is Yang Ye-jun, Devon Foreign Language High School student. She's going to present a topic that you are interested in. Please listen carefully and give her a round of applause.
Hi everyone, my name is Yang Ye-jun. I'm from Devon Foreign Language High School. Today I will introduce the Zeigarnik effect. This is content of my presentation. First, introduction. We continue to have some delayed work, unsolved cases or concerns. However, we keep thinking about the unresolved things in our daily lives, and it interferes with doing other things. This is called Zeigarnik phenomenon. Theoretical background. If you quit something without finishing it, the tension will continue and remain in your memory for a long time. Movies and healing. Both film and psychoanalysis have been in modern times, so the two share a common historical, social, and cultural background. Similarities between film and psychoanalysis. Dreams and movies use sight and hearing. There are special techniques in movies such as dissolve, superimposition, slow motion, and so on. Freud relied on film language to describe the theory. Movies and psychotherapy. It can be said that there is a high possibility of various developments related to film therapy in the future. So, although film therapy began after 1990s, the delay was nevertheless healing because of technical obstacles associated with the media environment. The movie Love Letter. The charm of this movie seems to be the process of finding memories above all else. People think that it is a movie that makes them thinking about their memories while watching the process, just like everyone has memories. Experiments on Zeigarnik effect. Russian psychologist Bloma Zeigarnik came across a hint of this effect in a restaurant. As she ordered and waited for the food at the restaurant, she was curious to see the waiter accurately remembering and placing the order without recording the menus ordered from several tables at the same time. The problem that is useless after the task is finished disappears from the memory circuit. Next is the Zeigarnik effect cases. A. Movies and dramas. Have you ever experienced the situation where the male and female characters try to kiss at the end of romance drama, or when a patient suddenly deteriorates in a medical drama, the drama ends and moves on the trailer? B. Teaser commercial. Sometimes when you watch TV or posters, there are ads that make you wonder, what's this about? This is also an advertisement using the Zeigarnik effect. It is a teaser advertisement that provides curiosity to target without revealing the company name or product details. C. Stress syndrome. Sometimes when you have a big accident or a bad experience, you often have nightmares or the content is not forgotten and repeated in your memory. This is also an example of an unfinished effect. D. An unsolved case. Students remember the question that the teacher asked to the student at the end of the school class. The reason why we often say that we cannot easily forget our cough is because of this phenomenon. Nowadays, advertisements are often inserted in the middle of performing dramas. In particular, broadcasters put advertisement in less than 10 minutes before the completion. Here too, the Zeigarnik effect occurs. Treatment. PTSD is an example. When PTSD experiences a terrible disaster or is shocked by the image such as assault, the memory appears repeatedly for years to decades. Love letter movie analysis. A. Issa Iski's way of thinking. Issa Iski is curious about the letter that was delivered to her wrong at first, but she is bothered. Huji Iski have died. She feels pity for Hiroko, who is trying to find memories of her dead lover. B. Issa Iski's emotion expression. She is surprised and sympathizes with Hiroko, the man's lover. She was surprised to see her classmate Huji Iski painted her in the book. C. The behavior of Isuki Huji. The movie Love Letter is easy to be regarded as a lyrical love movie that reminds you of their memories of old love. The characters express things related to the loss of affection in the inner psychological process they are experiencing, and the psychological impact of their traumatic memories is a key factor. Conclusion. The Zeigarnik effect is experienced by many people in their daily lives. I introduced how to use movies to treat psychological phenomena. In particular, a method of treating the Zeigarnik effect was also introduced. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your presentation. I enjoyed it. Then the last of our first part, next sixth presenter is Oh Seok-ju, a senior student of Purdue University, Northwest in America. This presentation will be shown in the video.
Hello, my name is Sungju Oh, and I'm currently studying biology at PNW. Today we will discuss electronic cigarettes and their various effects. Our topics of focus include the history of electronic cigarettes, the relationship between regular cigarettes and cancer development, the impact of e-cigarettes on the body, and a brief overview of how e-cigarettes are regulated by the FDA. The graph demonstrates a significant increase in smoking prevalence following World War II, and many individuals experienced cancer-related issues a few years later. This data led to the discovery in the 1950s that smoking cigarettes carried a high potential risk of developing cancer. However, there has been a decline in cigarette usage accompanied by an increase in vaping. People turn to believe that vaping is relatively safer and containing less nicotine and other harmful compounds. It is important to critically evaluate the validity of this belief. Now let's look into the history of electronic cigarettes. Joseph Robinson was the first to publish an electronic cigarette in the 1930s, although his device was never released. The graph presented earlier indicated that the link between smoking and cancer was established in the 1950s. This discovery led the government of the UK and United States to focus on reducing smoking rates. In response, the development of electronic cigarettes emerged as a potential solution to combat smoking. However, despite numerous devices being introduced by individuals and companies, none of them had obtained FDA approval. Electronic devices come in different forms, but their underlying structure is similar. They typically consist of mouthpiece, a liquid chamber, and batteries. Let's briefly go over how smoking cigarettes contribute to the development of cancer. Cigarettes contain nicotine, which increases cell proliferation in the lung through beta-adrenergic receptors. This elevated cell division provides more opportunities for mutations in the development of cancer. Cigarettes can also induce point mutation in the HRS proto-oncogene and eliminates tumor suppressor gene P16 as well. The graph shows chemical analysis of 54 e-liquid samples reveals major ingredients such as propylene glycol, ethylene glycol, glycerol, and nicotine. The level of ethylene glycol exceeds the minimum risk determined by the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry. Moreover, ethylene glycol is a chemical commonly used in the many industrial applications. It helps keep the car's engine from freezing in the winter and acts as a coolant to reduce overheating in the summer. Regarding silica, batteries in electronic cigarettes are often made of this material. Inhaling silica from vaping can cause alternative splicing of the Fas gene, potentially leading to cancer development through the overexpression or underexpression of the apoptosis. Weaker silica and Fas ligand binding results in overexpression of the Fas gene and other variant messages. The products of this pathway make the body resistant to anti-Fas autoantibodies and decrease the number of CD4 immune cells, making it more challenging to eliminate cancer cells. Conversely, stronger binding of silica and functional anti-Fas autoantibodies stimulate apoptosis through spliced Fas membrane, which can trigger an inflammatory response and autoimmunity due to increased rates of apoptosis. Furthermore, a research suggests that vaping poses a high risk of COVID-19 infection. The virus targets the lungs, heart, and bladder by binding the AC2 receptor. In a study of mice exposed to mint e-liquids for 3 months, it was observed that the defense system underwent immunodulation, and there was a 6.1 increase in AC2 receptor. Additionally, the study identified 2,818 altered gene expressions with a decreased activation of the immune cells such as neutrophils, dendritic cells, and eosinophils after exposure to e-liquid. A new disease, EVALI, was first reported in 2019. EVALI is triggered by the presence of heated vitamin E acetate in vaping oil, which breaks down into toxic ketone gas. This condition poses a significant risk of progressing into acute lung injury, hypersensitivity, pneumonitis, and acute eosinophilic pneumonia. The picture C demonstrates the EVALI presence of distributed centrilobular ground glass opacity nodules, a characteristic feature of the hypersensitivity pneumonitis pattern. Now let's check how these devices are regulated by the FDA. In 2007, e-cigarettes were classified as over-the-counter drugs and permitted for sale. However, as vaping gained popularity and its various effects become apparent, the FDA began to impose regulations. The use of flavors in cartridge model was banned, promoting companies to introduce alternative forms of devices. Due to limited pre-approval and insufficient data on potential risks, effectively regulating vaping with the FDA has become a challenge. Similar to the recognition of long-term risk associated with smoking cigarettes, it is crucial to understand the potential diseases caused by electronic cigarettes. The mass production and sale of electronic cigarettes are overwhelming the market without FDA regulations. So, further research on electronic cigarettes, including clinical trials, to ascertain their safety and viability as a healthier alternative for smoking cessation. Thank you for your time and attention today.
Thank you to everyone. The first part is over, and after 10 minutes break, we will proceed with second part. See you later.
Thank you so much. Now this half past. I wonder if everybody enjoyed it. Then let's start second part. The first presenter is Lee Ye-seo and Park Chang-hyun, all nations academy students. Please give them an applause.
Hello everyone, my name is Lee Ye-seo.
My name is Park Chang-hyun. Today you are going to give on a presentation on characteristics and psychological analysis of Hamlet character. This is content. Introduction. The study of the characters and psychology of the characters in Hamlet, a tragedy that is considered the best among Shakespeare's works, with logical and creative play are analyzed. 2. Theoretical background. Life of Shakespeare. He was born in 1564 to John and Mary. He did a lot of works. He died in his hometown of Stratford upon Avon in 1616 at the age of 52.
Number 2, characters. Hamlet is one of the representative tragedies written by William Shakespeare. Number 3, previous study papers. Example of a thesis dealing with personality analysis of Hamlet characters.
3. Body. Character analysis. A. Hamlet's personality and psychology. Hamlet's personality. Hamlet has calculating mind. He is obedient and careful with his parents. He is sentimental and witty to the woman he loves, and he is decisive depending on the situation. Number 1, prudence. We can see that he is patient and prudent even when he expresses his innermost thought. Number 2, wit and emotional. Hamlet knows that he is sentimental and philosophical in the way he expresses himself about Ophelia, the one he loves. We can also see that he is witty. 3, insanity and determination. While Polonius was hiding in Cynia and overhearing the conversation between Hamlet and the king, Hamlet found Polonius and immediately Hamlet kills him. 4, indecision. This is the scenario Hamlet contemplates whether to kill Claudius, who is praying. At the first opportunity he could have Claudius, he delays killing him. Usually in the passage, some scholars say his indecisive character can be seen.
Number 5, unstable psychology. This is the scene where Polonius tells Claudius that Hamlet is mad. Hamlet has been losing his mind at some point. Number 6, suicidal behavior and depression. Judging from Hamlet's monologue, he has a suicidal impulse as he constantly thinks about life and death. Number 7, superego formation. In the dialogue above, the ghost appears in the middle of the conversation between Hamlet and the king. In other acts, everyone except Hamlet can see the ghost, but in this scene, Gertrude does not see the ghost. B. Claudius, personality and psychology. Claudius' personality. Claudius is power-driven and possessive, and he is a pretentious, hypocritical figure who changes depending on the situation. Number 1, lust for power. From what the ghost said to Hamlet, it was known that Claudius had murdered Hamlet's father, and you can see that he took the throne.
2, pretentious and hypocritical. Claudius is a pretentious and hypocritical person. He murdered Hamlet's father, took the throne. Nevertheless, he expresses his condolences over his death. In addition, he showed the prince how much care for his guard. 3, psychological pressure and anxiety. He was under intense psychological pressure that he had killed his brother. Also, he is very nice Hamlet at first, trying to compromise himself for killing his predecessor.
C. Gertrude, personality and psychology. Gertrude, personality. Gertrude is passive and weak, also obedient to Claudius. Number 1, passive and humiliating. Claudius wished Hamlet to remain in Denmark. That in the scene, Gertrude persuades him to obey the king to stay. She is obedient to Claudius. She had failed to present Hamlet to the king in her succession to the throne. Number 2, motherly love. The above scene shows that Gertrude usually cares about Hamlet because he is a child.
D. Ophelia's personality in psychology. Ophelia's personality. Ophelia is indecisive. He is also obedient to her parents. Number 1. Indecisive. She had acted on her father's order rather than asserting her opinion. From this action, I could see that she was a woman who is indecisive and obedient to her parents. 2. Madness caused by the death of one's father. Ophelia grew mad at the madness of Hamlet, whose father died at the hands of Hamlet and whom he loved.
E. Laertes' personality and psychology. Laertes' personality. He has a strong love for his family, and he is ascetic and righteous at the chivalry of the Middle Ages. Number 1. Straightforward and just. He heard of his father's death and his brother's insanity. He was trying to get rid of the king immediately with his followers. With this in mind, he could fight bravely with his followers. Number 2. Have a vengeance on Hamlet. It is a line in which Laertes curses at Hamlet. Originally, it was revenge on Claudius, but Claudius said Polonius and Ophelia's deaths were all due to Hamlet.
4. Conclusion. Number 1. Hamlet. Hamlet has a calculating mind. He is obedient to her parents. He is prudent, he is decisive. He is also sentimental and witty to the woman he loves. Number 2. Claudius. Claudius has a strong desire for power and position. He had anxiety about his position.
Number 3. Gertrude. Gertrude is passive and weak, also obedient to Claudius. But instead, he drinks the poisoned wine that Claudius handed to Hamlet. Number 4. Ophelia. Ophelia is indecisive and obedient to her parents. She showed madness when her father Polonius is killed by Hamlet. Number 5. Laertes. Laertes is straightforward, righteous, and had a strong love for his family. He also had the spirit of a knight of the time of the company. Through this thesis, we analyze the characteristics and psychology of Hamlet characters. Thank you for listening to our presentation.
Thank you for your presentation. And next, the second presenter is An Ye-son, a student of Bo-an High School. Please give him a big hand as he comes from afar. Please start.
Hello, I'm Bo-an High School, An Ye-son. Content is like this. 1. Introduction. I first presented the events that appeared in the work and introduced their characteristics as examples. Also, I would like to apply MBTI, a modern technique, to analyze their personality. 2. Theoretical background. He was born in Alcalá de Henares near Madrid. He conceived Don Quixote in prison, and he published the Letter of Don Quixote in 1615. Number 2. Knight. They established the feudal system and have the feudal lord. Chivalry. It is a morality that had to be observed as a knight in medieval Europe. Causes of the collapse of knights. It was caused by social changes. Number 3. Meaning and evaluation of Don Quixote. Don Quixote is the world's first modern novel and one of the most influential works in the world. 3. Main body. Number 1. Characters of Don Quixote. A. Don Quixote. He had his one belief that he was a knight. He was brave and not afraid of adventure. B. Sancho Panza. He was very realistic and calculating. He was practical and showed a lot of creativity. C. The other characters around. Pero, Nicolas, and Carrasco tried to bring Don Quixote back to normal. The Duke and his wife enjoyed Don Quixote's madness by directing various events. Number 2. Events in Don Quixote and their meanings. A. Windmill incident. Don Quixote saw the windmill and thought it was a giant. Don Quixote inserted a spear into the windmill's wing, but felt as the wing turned. B. A flock of sheep. He saw the flock and thought it was a battle of troops. He stabbed the sheep with a spear. C. Barber's worshipper. Don Quixote thought the barber's worshipper was the most powerful preaching, so he took the worshipper from the barber. D. Fighting with a group of prisoners. Don Quixote thought the prisoners were being held unjustly, so he helped the prisoners. However, the prisoners later attacked Don Quixote and Sancho. E. Saving the princess. Don Quixote was carried on an ox cart and happy as if going to save the princess. F. Mistaking a local girl for a princess. When Sancho said princess had been made a local maiden by magic, Don Quixote insisted on leaving to break the magic. G. Losing a duel with Carrasco. Don Quixote lost a joust with Carrasco and took off his armor and returned home. H. Body decline. Don Quixote's health worsened because he couldn't go on an adventure and it was time to die. At this time, he returned to his full mind. Number 3. The characters of Don Quixote and Hamlet. Hamlet-type people are indecisive rather than cautious. Don Quixote-type people do not think deeply and act spontaneously. Number 4. MBTI. A. What is MBTI? The Myers-Briggs type indicator is a personality type test. As shown in the tab on the right, MBTI divided a person's personality into 16 types based on 4 criteria. B. MBTI of Don Quixote and Sancho. Don Quixote is an ENFP type. The ENFP types are adventurous, challenging, and have excellent fantasy and creativity. Sancho is an ESTJ type. The ESTJ types are realistic, logical, and practical. They make fact-based decisions based on their experience. 4. Conclusion. This paper attempts to analyze the 2 main characters of Cervantes' masterpiece Don Quixote. I applied MBTI, or modern personality analysis method, for Don Quixote and Sancho. Thank you.
Thank you. The next third presenter is Park Ji-hyun, Ewha Foreign Language High School student. All Nations Academy students, please give your senior a lot of applause.
Hello everyone. I'm Ewha Foreign Language High School student Park Ji-hyun. Today I will introduce the book called Silent Spring. This is the contents. 1. Introduction. Due to the increased pollution of the global environment, the problem of climate change has occurred. 2. Theoretical background. Number 1. Arrange the agreement. A. Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement seeks to limit the global temperature rise of as 2100 and maintain a much lower 2 centigrade rate than the international community. B. Kyoto Protocol. A total of 6 greenhouse gases will be reduced and non-tariff barriers will be implemented in countries that have ratified the agreement and failed to reduce greenhouse gases as promised. C. Countermeasures. Efforts have not stopped to protect the global climate environment since the Kyoto Protocol 1997 and the Paris Agreement 2015. Table. This is the contents. Contents number 1. P4G. Partnering for Green Growth and the Global Goals. Number 2. 2021 P4G Seoul Summit. Number 3. COP26. Conference of Parties 26. Number 4. Paris Agreement. Number 5. Kyoto Protocol. Number 6. Montreal Protocol. Number 2. Rachel Carson. Carson was able to spend time with nature from an early thanks to his mother, who was an active sympathizer in the natural learning movement. 3. Body. Number 1. Carson's rating. Carson's writing ability to appeal to readers' conciseness and emotions was the background of Silent Spring's ability to have such an important influence. Number 2. Contents of Silent Spring. Which Carson's Silent Spring is said and is described as a rich place to bring peace of mind and receive deep comfort. Chapter 1. Fables for Tomorrow. Chapter 3. The Secret Art of Death. Chapter 6. Earth's Green Overcoat. Chapter 8. The Bird No Longer Sings. Chapter 13. Through a Small Window. Chapter 14. 1 and 4. Chapter 16, Incoming Emergency. Chapter 17, The Road Not Take. Number 3, beginning of the environmental movement, Silent Spring. Silent Spring is the best representation in the field of environmental studies of the 20th century. Rachel Carson, the author of the book, was selected as one of the 100 people who changed the 20th century by Time magazine. Number 4, today's ecological environmental problem. It can be used as an opportunity to reflect on today's ecological environment problem. What we need is, as Paul Taylor says, respect for nature and an attitude of awe. Number 5, what is zero carbon? Zero carbon means no carbon dioxide at all. Unlike carbon neutrality or net zero, which is offset by external greenhouse gas reduction projects, its own emissions are completely zero. Number 6, what is DDT, DDD? Swiss chemist Paul Hermann Müller was the first person to discover DDT's insecticidal potential. B, what are DDE and DDD? DDE is not used commercially. DDD was used for pest control, but it was also banned. C, what happens when DDT, DDE, and DDD enter the environment? DDT enters the environment when used as an insecticide. DDE is introduced into the environment as a decomposition product or contaminant of DDT. D, how do I expose myself to DDT, DDE, and DDD? When ingesting contaminate food imported from countries that still allow the use of DDT for pest control. E, how can DDT, DDE, and DDD affect your health? DDT affects the nervous system. People who accidentally swallowed large amounts of DDT had excitement, tremors, and seizures. 4. Conclusion. Korea's gas reduction target will be able to achieve its goal of raising to 40% by 2030. Despite political differences over decarbonization and nuclear-free policies, these efforts at the global level are indispensable to prevent the collapse of the entire global climate and ecological environment, so we cannot help but look at back humanity's desire to consume excess energy. Thank you for listening my presentation.
Thank you for your presentation. I enjoy it. Next, the fourth presenter is Oh Sun Chan, a freshman of Purdue University Northwest in USA. The presentation will be shown in a video.
Hello everyone, my name is Sungchan Oh. Today, I would like to present the critical study of Richard Dawkins' influential book, The Selfish Gene. Richard Dawkins was born on March 26, 1941. Dawkins was an English ethologist, evolutionary biologist, and author who had made significant contributions to our understanding of evolution and the natural world. Dawkins' main argument in The Selfish Gene revolves around the origin of life, suggesting that it began as a collection of small molecules. In this view, humans and other organisms are essentially survival machines designed to ensure the survival and replication of their genes. Dawkins interpreted the behavior and evolution of animals, including humans, from a genetic perspective. In addition to the concept of genes, Dawkins introduced another idea, the concept of memes. He suggests that memes are cultural genes that exist in the form of ideas and behaviors. The study was based on the assertions in The Selfish Gene and counter-arguments presented by Dong-Eun Shin and Sung-Won Kim. Especially, this paper focused on exploring the personification of the gene called selfish, the evolutionary stable strategy, and the meme. Let's explore about selfish first. Its first claim is that seemingly selfless acts can ultimately benefit the survival and propagation of genes. In Christian spirituality, love is often seen as a central principle that guides relationships and actions. It is a selfless love that extends beyond personal interest. Moreover, there are examples where individuals exhibit altruistic behavior that goes against their own genetic interest. For example, in the animal kingdom, birds have been observed to have raised unrelated chicks. Richard Dawkins used an anthropomorphic metaphor of selfish to describe the behavior of genes in his book. This metaphor emphasized the individualistic tendencies of genes and their central role in the evolutionary process. Critically examine and question the labeling of genetic behavior as selfish or altruistic, as it lacks convincing justification. Assumptions about animal behavior cannot be easily generalized to humans, while Dawkins drew on insights from animal behavior to support his arguments. It is important to recognize that humans possess unique cognitive, cultural, and social complexities that distinguish us from other animals. Therefore, it is not appropriate to apply assumptions about animal behavior directly to human behavior. Moreover, human was not just a machine for selfish genes, but rather possessed qualities such as creativity and religious faith that transcend biological characteristics and cannot be fully explained by selfish gene theory. The second is an exploration of the concept of the evolutionary stable strategy. Dawkins claimed that the basic mechanism of evolutionary stable strategy, defined as a strategy that cannot be outperformed by any other alternative, can be defined as a gene. The definition of evolutionary stable strategy as a gene and its applicability to animal behavior has been questioned. Individual behavior and unpredictable natural variables may also affect the applicability of evolutionary stable strategy. For example, bicyclist Ayana developed different colors based on environment, not the gene. Second, Dawkins' claim is that the good genes are blindly selected as those that survive in the gene pool. This is not a theory. It is not the observed facts. It is tautology. On this point, tautology is logically an analytical proposition that A is A. However, the good genes claimed by Dawkins cannot be seen as analytical proposition because the mechanism of competition can operate even within the good genes, resulting in better genes. The last explorer is about meme theory. Dawkins argued that genes exert indirect control over the human body and mind through strictly one-way effects, and that knowledge and wisdom acquired through genes are not genetically transmitted to offspring. However, the claim that genes alone determine the body and mind represent genetic determinism. Dawkins denied being a genetic determinist, but his view might seem to support genetic determinism. Second, Dawkins' claim is that humans have been assembled as machines of genes and educated as machines of memes, but we had the power to rebel against our creators, the genes. On this point, his claim 1 conflicted with the claim expressed in claim 2. The claim that acquired traits were not inherited and the claim that meme genes can be educated were in conflict, so Dawkins was faced with a dilemma. To overcome this dilemma, Dawkins came up with the extended phenotype, which means that genes make other individuals their carriers to achieve their goals. But this view of human cultural products is too simplistic. It oversimplifies the complex interactions between genes, environment, and cultural products when applied to humans. Finally, Dawkins argued that God is not a concept as a real being, but as a meme that spreads through human culture. However, the concept of God as a meme was not a fact. It was substantiated by genetic information discovered in the Genome Project. It was only Dawkins' theoretical hypothesis. So far, we have examined Richard Dawkins' selfish gene from the perspectives of selfish, evolutionary stable strategy, and meme. But the counter-arguments are also strong, so further discussion seems necessary. To this end, a methodological approach to theorizing scientific inquiry is important, and various methodological considerations, such as those presented in Music of Life, are necessary to establish a verifiable academic theory. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. Now there are 2 left. The 5th is Ko Ye-young, J1 Foreign Language High School student. Please give her a big hand.
Hello everyone, my name is Ko Ye-young and I'm from J1 Foreign Language High School. Today I will talk about Zhigong's diplomatic power through persuasive strategy. Here's the contents. Introduction. Confucius, a politician, thinker, and educator during the Warring States period of ancient China, was the founder of Confucianism. There were his many students from all over China. One of them was Zigong. This report is trying to find about him. I would also like to explore his excellent diplomatic skills. He served as a prime minister of the Lu dynasty and Wei dynasty. He also helped Confucius financially because he had an extraordinary talent for business. Zigong's personality. The outward appearance and the inside shine together. Zigong was a man of excellent speech and diplomatic skills and later became a great rich man and became a prime minister. Situation at the time. In other words, Zigong perceived how beneficial the Qi dynasty attacked the Wu dynasty, which was strong, and he went to the Wu dynasty and convinced Emperor Fuchai that helping the Lu dynasty was the way to become a winner. Diplomatic tactics in each country. Zigong was a person who demonstrated diplomatic skills on an equal footing with the emperors and negotiated with each country as follows. Diplomatic skills of the Qi dynasty. First, Zigong went to the Qi dynasty and persuaded the emperor. Diplomatic skills of the Wu dynasty. Zigong, who visited Fuchai, persuaded him as follows. Wu dynasty should attack the Qi dynasty first. This is because only then can the emperor of the dynasty get a justification for returning troops who left for the conquest of the Wu dynasty. Diplomatic skills of the Yue dynasty. Again, Zigong went to the Yue dynasty to meet Gou Jian and persuade him. He said he succeeded in persuading Fuchai, but he was worried about the Yue dynasty against Wu dynasty when he attacked the Qi dynasty. Diplomatic skills of the Jin dynasty. Zigong will go to the Jin dynasty, and if Wu dynasty wins by attacking the Qi dynasty, the Wu dynasty will attack the Jin dynasty. Therefore, the Jin dynasty advised to prepare military power in advance. Assessment of Sima Qian. This is how Zigong explains his diplomatic power. Zigong's route between countries: Lu dynasty, Qi dynasty, Wu dynasty, Yue dynasty, Jin dynasty. Zigong's diplomatic strategy in each dynasty: analysis of the situation in each country, pointing out the issue of balance of power, using each country's interest to persuade. Changes in 10 years: Lu's survival, Yue becoming the leader of the empress, Jin becoming a strong country, Qi in turmoil, and Wu destroyed. The psychology and analogy of the persuasion process. Confucius said, Zigong is not about to be considered a nobleman because his qualities are biased in one direction. But the reason why Confucius chose Zigong when Lu was in a difficult situation is because of excellent diplomatic bargaining skills. The incentive to use irony. When he met the emperors of the country to negotiate, Zigong first identified elements of emotion that the other party avoided or rejected. The diplomatic skills of the Wu dynasty. Intended purpose. It's better to hate Wu dynasty. State of the country. The walls of the Wu dynasty are high and thick, and the ditch is wide and deep. Result of logic. This kind of country is easy to hit. The diplomatic skills of the Qi dynasty. Intended purpose. The Lu dynasty is a difficult country to hit. State of the country. The walls of the old country are thin and low, and the ditch is narrow and shallow. Result of logic. Such a country is no match for a fight, so it is better for you to strike the Wu dynasty. Analogy using the psychology of goodwill and fear. In persuading the Wu dynasty, Zigong chose to apply two emotions, the benefit and the fear of the Wu dynasty to be becoming a winner. Let's take a look at how Zigong used psychology of goodwill and fear in the Wu dynasty. Zigong said, put forward the justification that the Wu dynasty will save the Lu dynasty and discipline the brutal Qi dynasty. Then the Wu dynasty is an opportunity to do every country a favor. In this way, the emperor of the Wu dynasty stimulated a desire to be a winner. Fear for the Wu dynasty. Since fear is an emotion that occurs when you feel unsafe, it was clear from the point of view of the Wu dynasty that the Yue dynasty was always afraid and anxious. Zigong stimulated a sense of retaliation against the Wu dynasty, which was held by the emperor of the Yue dynasty. He also stimulated fears of the current plan, leading to anger feelings he had felt from the past. Zigong's visitation of the Jin dynasty. The following is a situation in which Zigong visits the Jin dynasty and persuades them by quoting proverbs and inferring the future. Conclusion. As a result of the above review, the use of metaphors, analogies, and psychology were used in various ways, and his persuasive communication strategy proved to be effective. It was also due to his excellent speech skills that saved the Lu dynasty, but the efforts of Zigong were as much of a great deal of attention. So his communication of persuasion is his excellent rhetorical ability and the use of proper psychology. So far, Zhigong's persuasive diplomacy has been reviewed. I learned that one's ability to speak can move the world. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. It's the final presentation, and sixth presenter is also a graduate student of Weill Cornell Medicine. The presentation will be shown in a video.
Hi everyone, my name is Hangwon Oh. Today I'm going to talk about the impact of high-sensitivity cardiac troponin implementation on emergency department length of stay, testing, and admissions. I'm going to go over introduction, method, primary, secondary, tertiary outcome for the results, and a conclusion. A troponin test is used to diagnose the potential of heart attack by assessing heart damage by measuring the level of troponin protein in blood, which increases when heart damage increases. There was a policy change in 2021 on Hospital A. The implementation of high-sensitivity troponin test was introduced as opposed to the traditional troponin test. The aim of the study was to compare the effectiveness of the high-sensitivity troponin test with the traditional troponin test. The study evaluated how the high-sensitivity troponin test impact outcomes, such as length of stay in the emergency department, ED admission rates, and 7-day readmission rates. We hypothesized that patients who receive high-sensitivity troponin test would have a shorter ED length of stay, as well as a higher admission rate and decreased 7-day readmission rate compared to the patients with the traditional troponin test. The study used a retrospective cohort design and record data between 2020 and 2021 from 2 hospitals, with Hospital B serving as a control group since it had records both before and after the implementation date of high-sensitivity troponin test, while the other hospital only had records after the implementation date. As you can see in the table, there were 13,886 encounters and 33% of them received high-sensitivity troponin test, and the rest were tested with traditional one. For the data analysis, programming language R was used for merging, cleaning, reformatting, and visualizing the data. For the primary outcome analysis, the outcome was a continuous variable, which was the ED length of stay. So we used linear regression model, but as you can see, the outcome variables were right skewed, which led to the log transformation to normalize the dataset. The log transformed QQ plot looks more normal on the right side compared to the non-log transform linear regression model on the left. Linear regression coefficients were exponentiated and reported as adjusted geometric mean ratios with 95% confidence intervals by back transforming results onto the untransformed scale. The secondary outcome was binary, or categorized variables, which was either the patients were admitted to the hospital or not. The tertiary outcome was also a binary variable, showing whether the patients were readmitted in 7 days or not, after they were discharged. For the secondary and tertiary endpoints, logistic regression models were built and analyzed since they were both had binary outcomes. For the primary outcome, the overall patients in Hospital A, the adjusted geometric mean ratio was 1.053, which represent the longer ED length of stay for the patients with high-sensitivity troponin test. We have separated the overall populations into 8 subgroups, as noted, and 6 out of 8 groups, patients with high-sensitivity troponin test, had shorter ED length of stay, as you can see on the plot. This figure also shows the coefficients and the p-value of the tests, gender, and the age. For the secondary outcome, the adjusted odds ratio was 1.576, which is greater than 1, and it represents higher admission rates for the patients with high-sensitivity troponin test. Lastly, for the tertiary outcome, the adjusted odds ratio was 1.213, which represent the higher 7-day readmission rates for patients with high-sensitivity troponin test. However, since the p-value was greater than 0.05, it was not as significant. In conclusion, the results show that while the implementation of the high sensitivity troponin test was associated with a longer length of stay for overall patients, patients with high sensitivity troponin test had shorter ED length of stay in 6 out of 8 subgroups. There were higher admission rates for patients who received high sensitivity troponin test compared to the traditional troponin test. And there was a significant difference in 7-day readmission rates before and after the implementation date. However, the odds ratio for 7-day readmission rate was not statistically significant. Overall, this study provides valuable insights into the impact of the high sensitivity troponin test on patients' outcomes and highlights areas for further research to determine the efficacy of high sensitivity troponin testing in clinical practice. Nonetheless, the study has certain limitations, including the non-exclusion of non-cardiac patients, which might have resulted in bias, and the potential impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the quality of data. Thank you so much for your time and thank you for listening.
Thanks for all presenters and audience. Our presentations are over. I wonder how the judge watched them. As a representative, we will listen to Dr. Lee Kyung-man's general view and encouragement.
평가를 먼저 우리 박시수 기자님에게 부탁을 먼저 드리겠습니다. 제가 이런저런 얘기를 먼저 해버리면 평가에 혹시 오류가 생길 수 있기 때문에 먼저 평가를 좀 해주시고, 사실 우리 박 기자님 올라오시죠. 우리 박 기자님은 우리 이 미국 기자입니다. 여기서 스페이스라는 잡지의 한국 특파원 기자예요. 이번에 보시다시피 5 학생이 이과 자연과학 쪽의 논문을 발표했기 때문에 올해의 평가는 우리 자연과학 쪽의 권위자이신 우리 박 기자님에게 모셨습니다. 먼저 평가를 좀 해주십시오.
먼저 좀 초대해 주셔서 감사하고요. 또 이경만 선생님은 제가 알고 지낸 지가 상당히 오래됐습니다. 선생님을 제가 알게 된 건 한 꽤 됐죠. 사실 이 학교 오기 전부터 저는 이렇게 인지를 했었는데 뵀을 때부터 그 선생님의 특히 열정, 그것이 정말 저한테도 굉장히 대단했다 느꼈고, 여기 이 학교 처음 와봤는데 선생님께서 얼마나 열심히 또 학생들을 지도했는지 또 느낄 수 있을 것 같습니다. 그리고 학생들 물론 내용에 대한 걸 제가 평가하기는 어려울 것 같습니다. 왜냐하면 제가 잘 알지 못하는 분야이기 때문에. 하지만 일단 준비하고 발표하는 그 과정 하나만 제가 하는 모습만 보더라도 얼만큼 그동안 열심히 공부하고 찾아보고 또 발표를 연습했고 한 것을 느낄 수 있을 것 같습니다. 제가 이걸 들으면서 몇 개 좀 느낀 점이 있어가지고 그거에 대한 걸 좀 마지막으로 좀 어드바이스 경우로 말씀을 드리면 좋겠습니다. 그 내용에 다시 말씀드리면 제가 내용에 대한 말씀은 아니고요. 이제 여기 이 학습에 큰 부분이 일단 영어와 관련된 내용이 있기 때문에 어쨌든 제가 한 20년 정도 그러니까 미국 매체와 어쨌든 영어를 중심으로 사용하고 있는 사람이기 때문에 영어와 관련된 거에 대해서 좀 말씀을 좀 드리도록 하겠습니다. 일단 이렇게 특정 내용에 대한 것을 공부하고 특히 그것을 써보고 말한다는 것은 영어 학습에 있어서는 굉장히 저는 매우 중요한 거라고 생각을 합니다. 왜냐하면 읽는다는 것은 읽고 듣는다는 것은 수동적인 어떤 학습 행위죠. 하지만 그것을 입으로 뱉고 손으로 쓴다는 것은 적극적인 행위입니다. 그런데 우리가 볼 땐 그게 뭐 대동소이하지 않느냐 생각할 수 있겠지만 실제로 영어를 써보는 사람 입장에서 보면 그것을 적극적으로 뱉어봤고 써봤느냐 아니면 단순히 수동적으로 습득만 했느냐라는 것은 굉장한 차이가 사실 있습니다. 그렇기 때문에 그런 면에서 이러한 기회는 일단 굉장히 좋은 기회다. 그리고 학생분들께서 그리고 여기 계신 학부모님께서도 이런 어떤 적극적인 어떤 언어를 활용하는 것은 꼭 앞으로도 계속 지속적으로 하실 필요가 있다 생각이 들고요. 하나 근데 이제 발표하는 학생들의 여러 가지 뭐 잘한 친구도 있지만 제가 볼 땐 약간 아쉽다고 생각된 부분은 그 많은 우리나라의 학습자들이 빨리 말하는 것이 영어를 잘하는 것처럼 생각하는 경우가 굉장히 많이 있는 경우가 있습니다. 그런데 제가 이렇게 저도 뭐 해외 어떤 뭐 포럼이나 우리 국내 뭐 학회 같은 데서도 발표도 하고 뭐 방송에서도 많이 활동을 하다 보면 그거보다 중요한 것은 내용을 명확하고 똑부러진 발음으로 천천히 하더라도 내용을 정확히 전달하는 것이 훨씬 중요하다라는 것을 알 수가 있고요. 즉 그 빨리 말하는 것이 플루언트하다는 거와 비례하지 않는다는 것을 좀 아시면 좋겠고, 어려운 단어가 꼭 쓴다고 잘하는 것도 아니라는 것. 결국은 얼만큼 발음 그 내용이 일단 가장 중요하고요. 무엇보다도 내용이 중요하고 그것을 얼마나 정확하고 클리어하게 전달하느냐가 어떻게 보면 발표 이런 어떤 적극적인 발표에서 더욱더 뭐 여러분들이 앞으로 신경 써주셔야 될 부분이 아닐까 생각이 들고요. 또 이런 생각이 듭니다. 요즘 이것은 꼭 영어뿐만이 아니라 인공지능이 요즘은 이렇게 굉장히 많이 나오고 있죠. 뭐 챗 GPT라든지 뭐 다양한 것들이 있는데 특히 여기 계신 학생분들의 입장에서는 그 인공지능이란 것을 학습에 적극적으로 활용하실 필요가 있다고 저는 개인적으로 생각합니다. 하나의 구체적인 사례로 말씀드리면 아마 여러분들이 영어로 이 논문 글을 쓰시거나 아니면 뭐 다른 것을 하셨을 때 내가 쓴 거가 제대로 썼나? 문법적으로 정확히 쓴 건가? 아니면 더 효과적인 표현 방법 없을까라는 거에 고민을 하셨던 경험이 분명히 있을 겁니다. 그러면 과거에는 그것이 뭐 원어민을 통해서라든지 뭐 그런 제한적인 방법으로만 가능했다면 지금은 정말로 저도 그거를 쓰고 있지만 인공지능이라는 것이 굉장히 여러분들의 학습에 도움을 줄 수 있는 아주 훌륭한 도구라는 것을 여러분들이 꼭 아셨으면 좋고 그것을 꼭 적극적으로 활용을 하셨으면 좋겠다라는 생각이 듭니다. 비단 영어뿐만이 아니라 어떤 학습 전체에 있어서 그것을 저는 한번 꼭 여러분들께 추천드리고 앞으로의 변화하는 사회에서는 꼭 한번 여러분들이 활용을 하셔야 될 것이다. 이렇게 말씀을 드립니다. 제가 좀 말이 길었고요. 일단 오늘 모든 발표하신 분들 일단 너무나 수고하셨고 내용 또한 너무나 했다고 저는 개인적으로 평가를 합니다. 그리고 그것을 준비하는데 너무나 물신양면으로 고생해 주신 우리 이경만 교장 선생님께도 일단 너무나 수고하셨다 이렇게 말씀을 드리고 싶습니다. 감사합니다.
감사를 드립니다. 예, 제가 평에 대한 마무리를 좀 하겠습니다. 우리 학생들이 짧게는 6개월 정도 준비했고요. 좀 길게는 1년 가까이 준비를 한 것들입니다. 물론 발표 시간은 5분에서 7분 정도였지만 굉장히 사실은 노고를 많이 들였어요. 그리고 이 앞에 나와서 발표하기까지의 여러 가지 과정들이 많이 있었습니다. 잘 참고 발표해주는 우리 학생들에게 정말 감사를 드립니다. 그리고 점점 이 대회가 이렇게 확대가 되고 있습니다. 그래서 대학생뿐만 아니라 대학원생 그리고 지금 이 자리에 그 대학생이 와 있는데 그 학생들은 내년 이때 발표하기 위해서 이미 벌써 몇 달 전부터 준비하고 있는 학생들이 있습니다. 대학생인데 또 미국 대학에 있는 학생들도 마찬가지고 근데 지금 나와서 어떻게 보면 먼저 지금 발표하는 학생들을 보기 위해서 이 자리에 나와 있습니다. 손 한번 들어주시면 좋겠습니다. 저도 새 학생 됐습니다. 손 내리십시오. 대학생이고 또 군에 있는데 휴가를 내서 이걸 보기 위해서 이 자리에 왔습니다. 그러니까 얼마나 이 대회가 의미가 있고 권위가 있는지를 아시겠죠. 그래서 저는 저의 이 교육 목표는 이러한 어른들은 최선을 다해서 이러한 장을 마련해주고 아이들에게 격려하고 복돋아주고 이런 것이 우리의 할 일이 아닌가 생각하고 우리 학생들은 바로 이런 데서 마음껏 자기의 실력을 발휘했으면 좋겠습니다. 이렇게 참여해 주신 모든 분들에게 감사드립니다. 저의 총평을 이거로 마치겠습니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you so much. I heard you well. So our hosting is all for today. Thank you.
네, 오늘 와주신 모든 분들 감사드립니다. 그리고 지금까지 진행해주신 우리 정면은, 이자정 두 학생에게도 큰 박수로 부탁드리겠습니다. 네, 대회를 위해 지금까지 많은 노력 기울여 주셨던 발표자 모든 분들께 진심으로 감사의 말씀 다시 한번 전해드립니다. 아울러 긴 시간 동안 자리를 빛내주신 참석자분들 그리고 관계자분들께도 다시 한번 감사의 인사드립니다. 그럼 이것으로 제4회 국제문화학술발표대회를 마치겠습니다. 감사합니다.